This is Share the Vision, presented by the Resource Center, a discussion of the programs and services of the Resource Center and about issues related to individuals with disabilities. Today, we join you from the Resource Center's administrative offices on Dunham Avenue, just outside Celeron, for an important annual event. To introduce it further, Steve Watterson, Community Relations Director at the Resource Center. Steve, thanks again for inviting me down.
Oh, you're welcome, Dennis. Thanks for being able to get here.
What are we about to present for our listeners today?
Well, tonight we are holding our annual general membership meeting, and incorporated within that is also our Board of Directors election, so we're going to be doing that. And the highlights of tonight, Dr. Todd Jacobson is ending his 3-year run as president. By our bylaws, you can serve no more than 3 consecutive terms as president, so he will be stepping down as president to be replaced by Dr. Kathy Gradle. So that'll be the excitement as we formally and officially hand the baton or the gavel over tonight.
One of the things this points out, Steve, is that there is a dedicated board of directors that serves as volunteers to coordinate everything that happens in this agency.
Right, good point. We have a volunteer board of 15 people from the community, a mixture of professionals from the community and individuals who have a family member who has a disability. And the board meets monthly throughout the year to do the official governance of everything that the Resource Center oversees.
Let's go now to the podium. I think Dr. Jacobson is just about to get the meeting underway.
This is our general membership meeting and election. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Our first presentation is with Lori Schneider and Jennifer Yost talking about their experiences with TheraP and self-advocate liaisons. John?
The man named John that Dr. Jacobson referred to was John Vogan from the Resource Center. Unfortunately, the presentation they made does not lend itself well to radio, but I caught up with John Vogan later to talk about TheraP. Listen. John, what do you do here at the TRC?
I'm a residence coordinator with Residential Services, and I'm the agency provider administrator for our TheraP software.
TheraP is something that you presented about at this annual meeting tonight. Could you summarize what it is for the radio listener? Because it's something new and cutting edge you're doing here.
Well, what it is it's our documentation software and our electronic health record. And what we're doing is we've taken what has typically been something that only the staff members have access to, and we've opened that up to allow family members, guardians, and the service recipients themselves to have the same access to their information that the staff working with them at their day programs or group home would have.
What kind of information would one find if they opened this TheraP?
You would find any type of medical appointment, any type of community outing, any type of behavior that one of the individuals goes through, whether that be positive or negative. It's communicated between all the programs, Medicaid service coordination, day services, residential, family member, and the individual themselves with the click of a button.
Why is this a good thing?
It's a good thing because typically, before we had the software, if someone had an incident and had to go to the emergency room, in order for someone's service coordinator or their day program to be notified of that, a phone call would have to be made. You'd have to get a hold of that person. Then someone would have to call the person's family member, and then so on and so forth. Now, if something happens, someone types it into the computer, clicks the mouse, and all those parties instantly have that information transported to them.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
A moment there from the Resource Center annual meeting with John Vogan talking about his presentation on TheraP. Now back to Dr. Todd Jacobson.
We do have the minutes from the 2014 General Membership Meeting on site. Could I have a motion to dispense with the reading of such? Michael? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Dr. Jacobson now accepted a motion that the minutes of the 2014 annual meeting be accepted.
So moved. Seconded? Barb? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. As far as my president's report, the past 3 years of my board chairmanship have blown by so quickly. If I had to characterize the last 3 years, it would be in one word, and that's change. Fortunately for me, in the practice of medicine, I long ago realized the only constant in life is change, and I learned to adapt to it constantly. In my first few weeks as president, Paul Chisana and I met with NYSARC CEO and board president in Buffalo. We moved on after our unsuccessful legal case with them, and we have since worked very cooperatively and brought TRC back into the fold of our state organization, NYSARC. We truly need their advocacy in Albany these days to fight for what we need to continue to operate our programs as we have over the years. The other severe change that hit us was the state ceasing to provide appeal money for cost overruns for dealing with difficult medical cases and excess staff needed to maintain our ICF certification with quality review, etc. This was one of the first financial hits we had to adjust to. Then the second came with federal sequestration legislation, which severely curtailed the military spending on supply acquisitions from sources such as our allied industry, which we as an organization had come to rely upon to supply dollars to offset programs which we were losing money in. This was a severe hit and a major factor in our close to $4 million loss last year. Another change looming on the horizon is managed care for our clients, though this is being pushed back about 1 or 2 years now, but will be a major game changer to adjust to in the future. And most recently, the change involves our changing executive directors this year from Paul Chisana to Denise Jones, and this has gone very smoothly thus far. We certainly hope to hold a recognition for Paul Chisana this summer, celebrating all the years at the organization's helm and for building it during the financial growth times into what TRC has become today. I want to thank a number of people for helping me with the board chairmanship these past 3 years. The executive secretaries, Selena Phillips, Kathy Insmiger, Donna Lundmark, and Kathy Field. Executive directors, Paul and Denise. Executive management team, especially Randy Lewis, Steve Watterson, Nancy Ingram, Heather Brown, Kelly Dimitri, Joanne Bevan, Virginia Vath, Steve Rixer, and Leanna Luca Conley, amongst many others. And I also want to thank my board executive committee, which made up of currently Mike Metzger, Dr. Kathleen Gradle, Katie Smith, and Barb Stewart. I also want to thank for sage support Marie Karuba, Mike Goldman, and Marlene Siriano, and Rich Corner. And most of all, I want to thank my family for tolerating my frequent meetings and state conferences that kept me away from them. And I'm happy to pass on the reins to Dr. Gradle soon, whom I know and trust, and I know will be a wonderful board president and chairperson. I stand ready to follow her lead and remain willing to help in any way that I can. And with that, we will ask for the treasurer's report from Mike Metzger.
Dr. Todd Jacobson, outgoing board president at the Resource Center at the recent annual meeting. The treasurer's report, put out by Mike Metzger, was done off microphone, but I caught up with Mike a little later in the program, and you'll hear his summary of that report in just a few minutes. But right now, we're going to go back to the podium. And Denise Jones, the new executive director at the Resource Center, and to pick up on her report.
I think it is important for us to go back and look at some of our accomplishments of 2014. One of the big reasons is oftentimes the number one reason why people give up so fast is because we tend to look at how far we still have to go, and it becomes overwhelming instead of looking at how far we've come. So I want to go back and look at some of the things that we were able to accomplish in 2014, even despite the financial deficit that occurred by the end of the year. I'm going to format this in terms of business accomplishments, some collaborations, and then our customer outcome highlights. The first, we were able to negotiate a 3-year labor agreement with TRC UEA, our union. We received the Moving Mountains Award Our Dunkirk Dental Clinic was moved to our Lakeshore Drive facility, so we have a consolidation of services there, and we are able to reduce some costs in the process. We also eliminated a number of leases. Our 4th Street facility that used to house our mental health clinics was moved to 2nd Street, and we were able to eliminate that lease. We were able to dissolve of the Carroll Street lease, which was the former location of our pharmacy. The Central Avenue location in Dunkirk we discontinued that lease, and also our Fluvanna lease for the Fluvanna School. Our clinic receivables are at national benchmarks. Actually, they exceed national benchmarks at this point in time. Our grant income in 2014 exceeded all previous years. Our Kappa Building facade project was just about done at the end of the year, but it looks beautiful today. We started community pre-vocational services and pathways to employment. We had a number of collaborations. One was the Millennium District Planning Project, which is allowing us to prepare for managed care but also collaborate with other area providers. The Lutheran Services and the Resource Center were able to receive a BIP grant, which will enable people to return to their homes. People that had been living in skilled nursing facility or within our residential facilities are now living at home. The START project, which was a project that's a collaboration of 16 organizations from the Finger Lakes through Western New York, was approved by the state of New York, and we are one of the lead agencies and sit on their advisory panel. TheraP video promotion, as you saw, just one small clip of what we're doing with TheraP, but I think it's very exciting that we're one of the leading organizations in allowing families and service recipients to access their medical records on TheraP, which is key to good and consistent service delivery. We had increased involvement with NASA with a video highlighting the success of DAHAB participants. And the Community Labyrinth received international recognition at the Global Alliance for Arts and Health as a community-related project. In terms of our mission-related outcomes, and now I'm going to talk about all of our customer outcomes that relate to the mission. And we measure our outcomes in the areas of achieving maximum independence, contributing to their community, experiencing lifelong growth, and enjoying quality of life. All of those things that are outlined in our mission statement that's up there. It's pretty impressive, the things that we were able to accomplish in 2014.
Denise Jones went on to give some very detailed statistics, which we do not have the opportunity to present at this point in Share the Vision. You could contact her office if you're interested in knowing more about this particular part of the annual report. We'll pick up again a little later in her presentation.
So I like a few quotes here. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. We've had a lot of change going on, as Dr. Jacobson talked about, with the organization. New leadership, new regulations, all sorts of pressures placed on us as an organization. And it'd be easy to play the victim, but instead we choose to look at any of these changes as an opportunity for us to grow, and any of these challenges as an opportunity to grow as an organization. So I'm just going to quickly go through our strategic directions for 2015. Obviously, we're mid-year, so we're in the process right now of analyzing where we stand against these. But the first area of focus, because it needed to be, is on fiscal viability. And our goal here is that all services need to be provided and accomplished within available financial resources. I'm pleased to report that when we look at our results through April of this year, we've seen an improvement in excess of $1 million in our operating results. So a lot of work has happened, and we've seen a lot of tremendous positive trends in our operating environments of all service delivery. We've been looking to the full integration of our STARS approach. And STARS, just to remind you, is our 5-pronged approach to health and well-being. We are looking at 5 areas of an individual, and that is basic needs, family stability, health, behavioral health, and employment. So basically what we're looking at is that full integration of STARS. We've obviously physically moved some services, so we have some congruency in services at our Kappa building on 2nd Street. We have our mental health, primary care and dental services and care coordination services all at that location. So our providers are actually able to talk and see each other and look at the plans of the individuals and make sure that we're looking at them from a holistic perspective. Because if one of those prongs is left out of the equation, the individual isn't going to be able to meet their health goals or their employment goals if we're not watching all of those things and keeping them all in check. We also have looked at TRC, primary care physician, as a central driver of the residents in the ICFs and IRA's healthcare decisions. And this is even broader. Our goal here is that we will be looking as an organization to the individual's primary care physician as the person that decides on when they need to see a specialist or when they need to scale back on an activity or things like that, or what is appropriate for them and their health condition. We're also, in terms of the full integration of STARS, we're identifying one team member and the role of each team member to eliminate duplication across TRC operations. As we've looked at some of our financial outcomes and what's happened throughout the organization, we had become very siloed in our approach to service delivery. We had day services, and they were responsible for the individual from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. Then we'd pass on to residential, and residential would take on the individual from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until they went to day hub the next day. And because of that, we would have individuals with a number of staff throughout the system. And what we've been trying to do is reduce and eliminate that opportunity for different perspectives and really just focus on the individual and what that individual really needs and not having as many opinions involved in the care of that individual. Work center transformation is the third area of focus for us, and the focus of this is that all individuals will have the opportunity for paid employment with the resource center to the extent of available funding and available of work demand within our service delivery aspect. So I was just sharing with the board in our board meeting prior to this meeting about some of the outcomes that we're seeing in terms of average hours. When we drive having paid employment for individuals, we have outcomes on the sheet, and you'll see last year we had an average of, I believe it was 16.8 hours worked per individual in our work centers. And that's up to over 19 hours a week right now because we have been able to increase the work that we have available for individuals. But more importantly, we're seeing an increase in the average wage per hour that the individuals are earning from $7 and some odd cents to $8.26 an hour at this point. So we're seeing some good outcomes in 2015 by having a focus on this. The fourth area, and I'm going to charge that this is probably right now and today the most important, is becoming an employer of choice. We want to be the premier employer in Chautauqua County, and we want any open position that we have to have a number of well-qualified applicants eager to provide the highest quality of service to the people that we support. We need to frame all of our actions around making sure that we have the best staff available to provide support to the individuals that we serve. And our fifth area of focus is on enhancing independence. We want to be responsive to the needs of individuals and families by developing strategies aimed at allowing individuals to be served to the extent of available resources in the least restrictive environment. So you'll see a lot of, on our scorecard, a lot of measures that talk about increasing and enhancing independence for the individuals that we support. Being able to stay at home a little bit longer on their own, being able to navigate and walk to a bus stop and maybe take a public transportation through increased mobility and that sort of thing as we move forward.
Listening to the voice of Denise Jones, Executive Director at the Resource Center, speaking at the General Membership Meeting and Election just a little while back at the Resource Center's administrative offices. She wrapped up her comments in this way.
I would like to thank everyone in the room as well. We have a great board, and they've been very supportive of us and the staff as we've gone through some pretty tenuous situations over the past few years trying to get on top of the financial situation with the organization. And our management team is second to none, I do have to say. They are a great team. They work very hard and work together, and we've accomplished a lot in 2014 and into 2015, and I'm excited for what's going to happen the rest of the year and into 2016. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on our board secretary, Katie Smith, to read the nominating slate.
The following people were nominated for one-year terms: Dr. Kathleen Gradle as president, Barbara Stewart as vice president, Carol Johnson as secretary, Dr. Todd Jacobson as treasurer. And directors for two-year terms nominated: Richard Erickson, Mike Goldman, Donna Henge, Mike Metzger, Patty Perlee, and Marlene Siriano. And nominated for the nominating committee on a one-year term: Paul Andalora, Elaine Hotelling, Clark Poppleton, and Joan Yost.
Can I have a motion to accept the nominating slate? So moved, seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Our new president.
And thank goodness you're staying on.
This is the voice of Dr. Kathleen Gradle.
I just wanted to say what I just said to Todd. Thank goodness you're staying on as treasurer. And it's been such a wonderful board to work on. When I was a junior in college, I served on the board of the Charlottesville, Virginia Association for Retarded Citizens way back then, many, many years ago. So this is, times. And so this is kind of a full circle thing. So I look forward to working with all of the staff and the board as we move ahead.
At this point in the meeting, Dr. Jacobson was recognized for his years as serving as president of the Resource Center Board of Directors, and Katie Smith was recognized as an outgoing board member. And the meeting concluded as follows.
Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Carol, and second, Marie? Thank you. And all those in favor, aye. All those opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.
I promised you a little earlier in the program the Treasurer's Report, delivered directly from Mike Metzger. Here's my interview with him. Mike Metzger, take a moment to summarize, because much has been said here tonight about the financial challenges that the Resource Center faces. As the treasurer on the board of directors, give us an understanding of what those challenges have been and are.
Well, unfortunately, our 2014 year, despite having $68 million in revenue, we lost a little bit over $4 million. This was a function of, we really depend on our work centers and our Ability One programs, and those programs suffered in 2014. Fortunately, there was a lot of restructuring done in 2014, so despite having a similar year in the Ability One and Work Center programs, we will be break even in 2015.
So you have gone from a $4.1 million deficit last year to what you anticipate will be break even this year.
That is correct, and it's been a combination of restructuring and taking advantage of consolidations.
How does an organization like this come to terms with a deficit into millions of dollars? How do you continue to run in that, just so that I understand?
Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately, we had a very sizable fund balance going into the year. We don't like to go into our fund balance, but to continue to support our clients and provide the excellent programs that we do, we will, in those off years, go into our fund balance to continue our program offerings.
There could not be too many years like that, though, could there?
That is correct. We need to get back to, as we are this year, break even, and we look to be profitable in the future.
Mike, thank you for taking the extra time to explain that to me and to our listeners.
Thank you, Dennis.
Before we close this edition of Share the Vision, I want to share with you the following interview with the outgoing and incoming presidents of the Resource Center's Board of Directors. This is most appropriate because Dr. Jacobson has the gavel in hand, and he could at this moment hand it to Dr. Gradle, and it would make the transformation in leadership here complete. But Dr. Jacobson, a thought about leaving this vital work.
Well, I'm not leaving because I'm still staying on as treasurer and on the board.
Presidency.
But as far as leaving the presidency, It's been a very busy 3 years. We've had a lot of change from the financial as far as the way we get reimbursed, from the way the government contracting with our allied industry, and also with a change in leadership with our executive director this year. So we've gotten through the storm, and I think many good years ahead. And I hand a reflex hammer. Oh, it's a gavel, I guess. Over to Kathy Gradle.
He is a physician, after all. Thank you very much.
Sure, Denny.
Dr. Gradle, as you assume the presidency of the Resource Center, your feeling about this first.
I feel honored to be in the position. I feel comfortable because Todd will be with me. That's one thing. The other thing is the staff and the continuing and new board members really work as a team. So it is not we, them. It is all of us. And I think that's why we are here today, continuing to serve.
The financial challenges continue, the ones that Dr. Jacobson spoke of?
Yes, but we have really strengthened some of our leverage with decision makers. We regularly work with our legislators who have been very, very helpful in pushing forward the agendas that all disability organizations are facing. And we are also looking at some high points in terms of our new face of employment, which Denise talked about today. A lot of effort in all the arenas around employment. Very, very important.
Best of luck to you as you begin this work, and thank you both for your time.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
Speaking there, the outgoing president of the Board of Directors at the Resource Center, Dr. Todd Jacobson, and the incoming president, Dr. Kathleen Gradle. I want to wrap up today's edition of Share the Vision with the following brief interview. I will take a moment with Denise Jones, the executive director here at the Resource Center, just to help our audience, Denise, understand how you have been able to go from a deficit situation of a significant amount in 2014 and appear to turn that around for 2015. What steps have been taken?
We've taken a number of steps. One is to make sure that we're optimizing the revenue that we can get in. In 2014, we moved a significant number of people into the community, and by virtue of doing that, we had a lot of vacancies in our residential facilities. We've been able to effectively fill those vacancies at this point with other people that needed those certified residential settings. So in doing so, we've optimized our revenue and seen an increase in revenue. We also were able to get an increase in revenue for some of our state funding in our programs because it was recognized by the state that we were not receiving the level of funding that we needed to provide the level of care to meet the needs of our residents. So those were two of the areas. We've also done some pretty significant downsizing of our facilities through the consolidation and looking at how we provide services and look to be more effective in service provision. For instance, moving our behavioral health services clinic from 4th Street to the Kappa building and eliminating that lease and selling that facility so that we can provide services in a more integrated fashion and better meet the needs of the people and our patients, but also in a more cost-effective fashion.
Is it your sense that you'll be able to continue this trend now through 2015 and 16 to run evenly or in the black?
Absolutely. The one pressure that we have right now in 2015 that we're still working on is the government sequestration. When the military spending went down, was reduced, we started generating deficits in our work center programs. And what's happened through 2015 is we're getting the contracts in, but we're not able to ship yet. We're in the process of building a large number of sales, and we'll see some revenue coming in later in the year. And our contract outlook for 2016 is good as well. But all of our programs at this point, except our work center and our affirmative business manufacturing settings, are doing better than budget, and our budgets were pretty stretched budgets for this year. So it's just making sure that we're aligning services, meeting the needs of our customers in the best and most efficient manner.
So you end this report on the annual meeting really in an upbeat tone.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a great team of people here, and we support some very special people in our community, and we're committed to doing that, and we're excited for what the future holds for our organization.
Denise Jones, thank you for sharing the vision today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.